Hey, what is up, everyone? This is Dan from Rebellious Noise, and I am here again on the Rebellious Noise podcast show, and I am joined by Scott. Unfortunately, we are not joined by Lucas or Rob today, but, needs must. We have Hell in a Cell 2020 to talk about. So, whether there's two of us, whether there's three of us, whether there's four of us, we're still going to give you guys our thoughts on what went down at Hell in a Cell. So, how you doing, buddy? You all right?
I'm good. I can see you've got a nice little badge on you there. Birthday boy.
Yeah, see, even joining you when I've just turned the ripe old age of 32. So,
Oh, you've come out of it now, mate.
getting
You've told
into
the
my
world.
twilight years. So,
Well, at least
so
I've shown up for your birthday, mate. It's just going to be a nice little birthday party, I'm sure.
yeah, thanks, mate. We've spent many a birthday in each other's company.
Yeah,
So,
have you bought any cake?
it's,
Have you bought any cake?
my mum bought me one last night. I've just chowed down on a nice piece of my football birthday
Oh,
cake
it's a football
beforehand.
one.
So
Nice.
yeah, so as I say, we're here to talk about Hell in a Cell 2020, and so during your cooking time,
Mm.
otherwise known as the WWE pre-show, was R-Truth defending the 24/7 championship against Drew Gulak. Did you see any of it, or were you?
Well, this time, funnily enough, this is the first time I wasn't actually cooking, but I was watching an NFL game on the TV. So the pre-show was only on the iPad, so I still
Right.
only saw parts of it. As far as the match goes, it's a pre-show match in all its sense. If in some ways I enjoyed it because it was just a silly little match. It was fun, it did what it had to do. But at the same time, they can't be shocked that people don't tune in for the pre-show when this is what you offer. Nothing against
Yeah.
those guys, but it needs, for me, a pre-show needs that and like a more kind of, I guess, somewhat serious match. They need to hook people in more.
Even
But
if they threw a title, a big-ish title match on there
yeah, but
for
then
people, even if it's right on the build-up to the show.
the only problem with that, though, in my own point here, is that, ironically, we'll probably then say, "Oh, look at these guys on the pre-show, man." Do you know what I mean?
Devalues it kind of
So
thing, yeah.
yeah, so it's kind of tough. They need to strengthen the pre-show enough so that they can. It's normal to put that stuff on, and it doesn't feel like it's degrading it. You know what I mean? So yeah, even if they have a pre-show title, who knows? But
Maybe.
but yeah, generally the match again quite. Yeah, it was alright. It was a nice little opener. But an interesting thing as well. The Miz and Morrison were quite funny on it, and obviously they can't later. But an interesting thing was Jeff Jarrett being on it. That was really good to see. It was nice to see him on the panel, but also Elias had a little bit of a dig at him, and we'll go into this a bit more later with Elias's match with Jeff. But he mentioned he did a little song, and he was like, "What are the connections between the name Jeff and them being idiots or whatever it is, two Jeffs." And then he said Jeff was another word for junkie, which was really strong. But we'll get into that again with the Jeff stuff later. But yeah, Jeff Jarrett didn't look pleased, but I think it was on purpose. I don't think he was actually caught off guard. He played it quite well. But yeah, I'm not sure if they're sowing the seeds for a Jeff Jarrett and Elias thing there.
Like a guitar off kind of thing.
Yeah. So that was interesting. But yeah, so it was a decent pre-show from what I saw.
Yeah, I mean, did they not have did they not have a little showdown in the Rumble
Yeah, I think
last
they
year, or
did,
year
didn't
before?
they?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they were
So,
one and two in the Rumble, or
so I'm
something
not
like
sure if
that.
they're just going to do something with that again, but it'd be good to see. To be honest, I wouldn't mind seeing a bit more Double J.
JARRET.
Nice, you can spell.
Wow, bluffing, isn't it, mate? It's
Yeah.
amazing what happens when you can get it up on a screen and just read it off a screen. But yeah, so yeah, thanks for letting me know what happened on the pre-show. I didn't see any of it, so
Oh, okay, cool.
yeah, cheers for that.
Yeah, no worries, mate.
I guess it's obviously the usual 24/7 shenanigans. It's a little bit strange though, seeing Drew Gulak in the 24/7 title picture,
Mm.
considering the feud that he was having with Daniel Bryan a while ago, and people were thinking, oh, is it going to be leading to bigger things for him, like an IC title push or something like that? But
Yeah, and then his
I think,
contract ran out, didn't it? And it looked like he was actually just leaving, and it was like WWE let go in a real hot property. Why were they pushing him so much? And now look,
yeah,
and it was like they were pushing him, and then he re-signed, and
and they
yeah,
punished him for re-signing, kind of
yeah,
thing.
weird. It was like they
Yeah,
tricked him or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm sure they know more than we do. But and to be fair, like
exactly.
he's performing quite well. He's quite a comedic character. He can do the comedy stuff as well. So who knows? Maybe it's just a little placeholder for a bit.
Yeah, I hope so anyway, because I do think he's really, really
He's a
talented.
quality
So
talent. Yeah.
yeah. So we now move in then to the main show, and a match I didn't really see kicking the show off. Actually, for me, well, it was one of the only three matches that we could actually predict because obviously there were only three matches announced at the time. And that was Roman Reigns defending the Universal Championship against Jey Uso in an I Quit match inside Hell in a Cell, with the caveat that Jey Uso and his brother Jimmy will have to take orders and acknowledge Roman Reigns as the tribal chief, or the Usos and their immediate families will be exiled from the Anoa'i family if Jey loses, and if Roman Reigns loses, then obviously loses his place as head of the table and the
And the
Universal
title.
title.
Yeah.
So now that's out the way. Yeah.
Like you, I didn't expect it to be the opener. And I think it was probably the wrong decision, to be honest. Although it meant the open was amazing, I don't know. It just felt like I tweeted out about it last night, that it was just so hard to follow. Like not so much in a match sense. Like it wasn't the greatest match ever. Don't get me wrong. Like there's so many finishers. If it was a Brock Lesnar match, people would be crapping all over it. Let's be honest. It was just finisher, like all the way through for so much of it. But it was all right as far as the match goes. But like storyline wise, amazing. I didn't think they kind of did the same thing as they did last month, which was really good. And my worry about this one was like, obviously Jey weren't going to win it. And the kind of little bit of doubt they put in your mind wasn't going to be as strong as it was last month. But what else could they really do storyline wise? And again, although they did kind of do the same sort of thing, I think they did it very, very well. Jey plays a complete dead wrestler really, really well, laying on the floor like that. I liked all the guys rushing in from the back to try and stop Roman, and that he kind of shuts them in. I think they kind of missed the touch with him not locking him in, like he was a wild animal that could just take them all out, because that's kind of what they were going for. But I guess that was because Jimmy wouldn't be able to slip in the way he did to dive on Jey. So again, in some ways, it's like he did the same thing, but I just think it was executed really, really well. Like I could tell that Roman, although he was perfectly playing up to it, crying, I could tell he weren't genuine. I knew what was going to happen, and the fact that he's got his new submission was a perfect way to just pull him in. Like it was kind of like how Undertaker used to do it as well. So really enjoyed that, and yeah, it told an amazing story at the end, and then obviously Afin Sika coming out. Now that side of it, visually, I get and I like it, but I also feel like, why would they pick sides? I mean, maybe you could argue that they're picking, whoever's got to the top, they have respect, and they think, you know what, you are providing for the family. Well done, you've made it to the top. But then surely you'd feel like there'd be a bit of emotion in it as well, as from their point saying, Roman shouldn't be acting this way. And we care about the Usos as well. So that I'm not too sure about. But on a visual standpoint and storyline telling as far as emotion goes, perfect.
Bit of a chef's kiss moment.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was definitely like a great match to start the show. I mean, in my opinion, I think and no disrespect to him, I think the worst Hell in a Cell match main evented the show. Like, I think that would have probably been best served in the middle. But it was always going to be tough with 3 cell matches on the show, because especially as it turned out, having a 6-match card, there was always going to be one opening, one in the middle, one at the end. So it's like, either way, you've got to have a cell match opening. So one of them had to open, and I think they were in that position really of, you know, we're going to open it, we're going to try and put on the best show possible. I think storytelling wise, as you said, it was just superb. And, you know, just, I loved the way that obviously introducing the strap to it, and the fact that Roman was just beating him down so much. And it's like any other match, if it was a regular Hell in a Cell match, the referee would have just waved it off. But the fact it was an I Quit match, and the commentators, like, just the little like nuance of the commentators saying the only way to win is to get your opponent to say I quit. So it was just drumming that into you that the referee can't just stop the match if he wants
and then
to.
it shows the ref going through the turmoil as well, didn't it?
Yeah, it's like they physically they have to say the words I quit. And, you know, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens like going forward now. So, you know, obviously with him winning, it's like, so now is Jey on SmackDown going to actually acknowledge him as the tribal chief now? Is he going to go against him and then like be essentially diminished from the family? The touch with Aphra and Sika at the end, as you say, so one of them obviously Roman's dad, one of them Roman's uncle. I think it would have been nice to see like a few more of them, so like maybe Rikishi as well, being like the Usos' dad, maybe like kind of standing up for his boy kind of thing, and just being like, well,
maybe they'll go there in the future though. You know
yeah,
what I
I
mean?
think it's definitely one of those storylines that still got legs, you know, and it's one of those where even if they did put them together, like as a little, like as a unit now, it's something that they can still play on further down the line. So it's kind of one of those that can always just sit on the back burner and just be slowly like simmering. And then if they need to go to something quickly, they can just be like, right, okay, you're all together, bang, there's a turn coming.
It's kind of what they did in the first place here. They had a ready-made feud that they could just jump straight into.
Exactly. And I think, you know, the way that obviously we've criticised some of the writing, you know, how they like to do things very last minute kind of thing. And, you know, I think it's one of those that does have that last minute thing about it, but then it also could have the long-term planning if they want that.
Exactly. You can quickly make a story out of it. Like, it seems like they probably did this time around, but it's worked because you've got a natural story there. And like you say, they can easily do it again. And just the performances from everyone involved, really well done. And even, like, I just felt like it was movie-like. It felt like I was watching a film. Both times it felt like that at the end. And although you did have the same thing of Jimmy coming in and stuff like that, this time I liked that he got attacked, and then it was Jey having to be like, I do quit, but because my brother's been, you know, battered. You know what I mean? Like, it was, and the emotion, like, it was just, you know, in some ways Jey playing dead was a bit over the top, but like he plays it really well. You know, like he plays like he's completely out of it and like really, really sympathetic. And yeah, kind of like Gargano. You know, Gargano is really well at playing like someone who's battered and sympathetic, especially when there's a babyface. So yeah, it worked so well for that. And Roman just turning on the waterworks to just to lure everyone in. It was just perfect. Like, I don't think anyone can argue about Roman as a performer anymore. It's just ridiculous, you know. So
Exactly.
while yeah, some of his acts might have got stale at times, and then he was, you know, some would say overused at times. At the moment, he's fresh, and at the moment he's performing to an incredible standard, and at the moment everything's exciting, and that is because they did change it up with him, to be fair. But yeah, what a time to be watching Roman Reigns.
Exactly. I think it's as well, it's what people have been calling for years, like that different kind of side to Roman Reigns. And it was like the whole Cena thing before, when it was kind of getting a bit stale, and so he needed that like reinvigoration of the character. And I think, you know, this is definitely working. I think it's got legs, and I think, you know, he is the right man to carry that Universal title forward, you know, especially into Survivor Series now. You know, representing the blue brand, but you know, we don't know whether he's going to be champion going into that because of events that occurred slightly later on in the night. Something that I've literally just picked up on as well. So if you include the pre-show match, the 3 matches that weren't in Hell in a Cell, the combined time of all 4 of those matches was shorter than any of the Hell in a Cell matches.
Yeah, the cell matches were really long.
Roman Reigns and Jey Uso are 29 minutes 20. Banks and Bayley went 26:35, and Orton and McIntyre went 30 minutes 35. Yeah, so I mean, other than cell matches, we then go into the next longest match on the card, and that was Elias versus Jeff Hardy. So this was announced on Raw last week. Elias defeating Jeff Hardy in this match via disqualification. By the way, just quickly going back onto the last match, all of us correctly predicted Roman Reigns, so we all get a point for that one. This one, obviously, none of us predicted because we didn't know the match was happening. The same with the following match after this, and basically, we only predicted the cell matches because they were all that was announced. So it's easier to set like that.
Yeah.
So, Elias, Jeff Hardy, what did you think?
Once again, touching on the DUI stuff and all that, not a fan. But again, it kind of makes sense because that's where this storyline kind of comes from. You know, it's like they had to go back to it, but I really do hope this is the last time. Saying that, just like in the Sheamus feud, if you're going to do it properly. And there were parts in the Sheamus feud that were very well done, parts that were really stupid and hokey as well. And the same kind of thing here, to be fair. Elias's cheap shots with the song and stuff like that, while I don't like the fact they're doing him, he does it very well. So there's that. As far as the match goes, all right, just like this period seems to have a lot of matches just like this, where there's not much you can say, to be fair.
It's just like thrown on for the sake of being thrown on, wasn't it? Really?
I mean, the only thing that made me go, oh, and say something out loud or anything like that was Jeff on the top rope about to do this one ton into the hardest part of the ring and all that. Don't know why I did air quotes. It is the hardest part of the ring. To the hardest part of the ring. And it looked like he was going to do that, but then he didn't. That made me go, oh, Jeff, don't do it. Just out of fear for what might happen. And that was the end of the match anyway,
Just getting himself disqualified.
And gets himself DQ'd. So, that is literally it. The only kind of notable thing to say. And I'm not trying to be harsh about these two guys, but literally the beginning of the match and the very end of the match. And I think that is because of this. It's more like a Raw match. These things are matches that usually would take place on Raw. As far as build and match quality, it's just an average TV match. So, not much to say about it other than that, to be fair.
Yeah, I think it was always going to be awkward for any other matches that went on this, because it was essentially a show that was just built around three matches, and so anything else was just kind of going to be right, it's just going to be a bit of filler. So pretty much the same as what you were saying, really. It's just it was not really, I wouldn't say it was a vintage match for the ages. It was something that you'd see on a Raw or SmackDown, or just even on a live event show. But the finish with Jeff Hardy cracking him with the guitar and getting disqualified, it's I can see that they want to try and keep this feud going, but then I still didn't get why Elias is still saying it was Jeff Hardy that ran him over when it was proven that it wasn't him that did it. And I
guess because he's a bad guy, and just like Sheamus, he don't care. He just he knows the truth, but he won't admit to it because he's got a problem with Jeff, So I don't think it's meant to be that he genuinely believes it. I hope not, because like you say, it's kind of common knowledge now. So but like you say though, again, touching on the TV match but following the cell match, it's kind of what it needed to be. You know what I mean? So not be too harsh on it, because exactly that. It couldn't be much more.
I'm not saying it was a bad match by any stretch. It was, it was a serviceable match. It did what it needed to do, kind of thing. It filled some time, and it was two guys that can go in there, and if this feud is going to go on, I mean, I know apparently WWE have got some big things planned for Elias. It's going to be quite a staple on Raw. You could end up seeing him maybe in the US title picture at some point, but then that obviously leads him in a different direction with the Hurt Business. And
unless they get that off of him quick somehow, and even that Jeff and him for the US title, or even if they do the Jeff Jarrett thing, Jeff Jarrett feuding for the US title, I'm not opposed to it.
You never know. Could even have a Jeff and Jeff tag team.
Oh, beautiful.
J&J.
Double Jeff. Double J, double Jeff.
It's JEFFHARDY.
That's right.
See, I can spell Hardy as well.
Beautiful, man. Another one you read it, I'm sure, but
Yeah, definitely. What's that? Hard. Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, so we now move into a match which was another match that had some stakes actually, and that was Otis defending the Money in the Bank contract against The Miz. So I can see the smile brimming from ear to ear on your face. The fact that Otis is no longer Mr. Money in the Bank. Did we see the way that he lost it coming?
Right. So first of all, I hate these kind of matches. I hate this kind of changing the Money in the Bank. I don't think they should have ever done it with Kennedy and Edge because it turned out Kennedy come back anyway. What happened with Edge was good, fair enough, but I don't like putting that prize on the line twice, and they've done it a few times actually. But
did they do that one, the Kennedy one? Was that because they thought he was injured?
Yeah, he was injured, but he come back sooner than they thought. I think.
Yeah,
like they thought he'd be out for the year, but
yeah, because that was at the WrestleMania I was at. Was when Kennedy won it, and Edge actually had left the match injured himself, and then it was the next night on Raw, I believe. That was it. The next.
I don't know if it was the next night on Raw. Maybe it was. Yeah.
I think it's
strange.
Yeah, pretty sure it was.
But yeah, I really don't like them doing this kind of thing. But saying that, I don't think Otis should have had it in the first place. We've been through that a million times. Go back and watch our other episodes. But yeah, nothing against Otis. I do think he's a great performer. I think the it's just not the spot for him. You know, that's the way I feel. Like the way his character is. I mean, I really enjoyed, to be fair, Law and Otis. I thought that was good. I even enjoyed this match. It was a good match, but the position I don't think is right for Otis. So I'm actually happy it is The Miz. Obviously, some parallels now. He's the Money in the Bank. Orton's the champ. Who knows? Are we going to get another Miz girl reaction when The Miz cashes in? Yeah, so it's interesting in that sense. Like, I'm interested to see where it goes with Miz. But I'm quite concerned that they are just going to switch it back, that Otis will get it back somehow, which again will annoy me even more, not just because it's Otis getting it, but because again they're hot potato in something that shouldn't change hands in my opinion. As far as the how, I didn't see it coming in the build, but in the match I knew it was going to happen. I said out loud, Tucker's turning. As soon as Morrison got sent to the back, I knew Tucker was going to turn. And then he did. Hits him real hard. And yeah, wouldn't be surprised if he separated his mate's shoulder with that. But yeah, an interesting finish. The Miz is shocked and stuff like that. So I thought they played that really well. And then the interview in the back, obviously getting Tucker explaining himself and then Otis chasing him. It's a normal cliche stuff, I carried him and all that kind of stuff. I'm a bit concerned for Tucker because, we've been saying for a while that clearly Otis is the one that they've, put the rocket to, and it's worrying a lot of times when this happens, they do forget about the other guy. And I do have a feeling it's going to be the same thing. This is just your obligatory turn storyline. And I've got a bad feeling that after this, they're going to drop Tucker and not do much with him, because these turns always feel like they're going to do something with both guys, but they don't. Like, one that always comes to me is Crime Time. They had a great team. I really enjoyed Shad turning heel. I really enjoyed JTG as babyface, and then it just didn't really go anywhere. They kind of just gave up on both guys, it seems, So this time around, but usually it's one of them. And I think this time around it's obviously going to be Tucker if it's either. I hope I'm wrong. This isn't me saying anything bad against Tucker or anything like that. My point is that I want Tucker to do well. I think this does have some legs. But I feel like sometimes they do this feud and you think it's because they have plans for both guys. But it turns out it's not. It's just another way of making the main guy that they want to push get pushed rather than giving them both something to do, So that's my only concern here. And I do have a bit of a... feeling that Miz might be losing it again, but yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, for me, it's see, I wasn't too sure as how it was what was going to happen with it. I was thinking you know, are they going to do it where Otis is going to still keep it, or are they now going to do something where, although Miz has won the briefcase, that the contract is still like in the lunchbox one or something like that? You know,
Right,
are they going to like
TV,
throw in that kind of curveball? And yeah, I think it was strange because I didn't really see it coming. I thought, oh, it's just going to be like just a relative like defense of it for Otis, and yeah, I mean the Tucker turn as well. It was, for me, it was kind of strange. I mean, I didn't really feel as though they're going to do much with him now. You know, and where he wasn't actually drafted, I think it was he chose to go onto Raw, I believe.
Right.
But you know, why would you then not just stick with your mate on the other show? It just doesn't make sense really. But yeah, I mean, and you're saying about like the turn thing. It's like, I remember it's I think the first one that I can really remember term wise like that was like when Edge and Christian, when Edge won the King of the Ring, and Christian got like super jealous over that. But luckily they both had a bit of a direction after that.
Exactly.
And, you know, that worked out pretty well. And then like a more recent one for me was probably like Enzo and Cass, and again they had a slight direction for both, whereas like Cass was going into like the, well, it was challenging, I guess, for the Universal title.
Yeah, it was in around it, wasn't it? Yeah, and then obviously
when Balor went out with a shoulder, I think he was part of that four-way match.
Four-way, I was wondering if it was 6 or 4, but yeah, he was in that.
I think it was with Owens, Seth, and I can't remember who the other one was. But
I think it weren't long after that he got that injury though, wasn't it? And then
and he got the really bad injury. And
yeah, so obviously, like you say, they had a plan for both of them because obviously Enzo went into the cruiserweight picture as well. So sometimes they do, but you can kind of tell when they do. Like, I didn't feel like they were breaking them up because they had an eye on one person, but it felt like we've all known this team was getting broken up, and we all know why it's getting broken up.
Yeah, for me, I think it was. Although it was a nice like pop when Otis won the Money in the Bank. It was good for like, oh, but it's something different kind of thing. You know, it's going to be someone different with the briefcase. I didn't see him holding it this long. Like, I did think he was going to lose it initially, but I thought if he was going to lose it, it would have been earlier on in the reign.
I think they just literally had no idea what they wanted to do. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just feels like they didn't have a clue what they actually wanted to do with it. So they chose Otis because he was hot. And this is what we were kind of, speculating at the time, like, because he didn't fit the kind of the way they usually build that. He won it because he was, on fire at the time, and they wanted to kind of connect those two things. I think it was a bad decision. And like you say, it looked like he'd probably end up losing it. And that just shows, if it does stay this way anyway, that they never really had real plans for him anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, the only thing as well, though, with Miz winning is both, like, and this is going to give away what happens in the main event, but both champions are heels. Money in the Bank holders are heel.
He's going to have to hold it for a while. And does he now get 4 a year? Or does he have to have the rest of the time,
Exactly, yeah, that's the thing. So is it June?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so, would it be that either Randy or Roman will lose the belt before then?
You know what I want to see? It just comes to me. Rock and Roman for the title, right? Rock wins it. Miz cashes in, beats The Rock because he's upset about WrestleMania 27. Boom. That's what we should do, because you get that. That surely's got to happen anyway. And, I mean, what a way for...
And it's 10 years on as well.
Yeah, and for Miz to look like a scumbag, it's perfect, for The Rock, the lovable Rock, you know what I mean? Like, he's won the title. Everybody thinks Rock's staying. Rock's going to stay in WWE, because if it does happen, I think Roman's winning. But if they do it like that, where Rock does win so that they can do this, then that's some dream there.
That's some bold prediction.
I didn't say it was a prediction. It's a spoiler. No, I'm not getting all Heyman on you, but yeah, it would be good to see.
Yeah, I think the only other thing would have been as you say, like the angry Miz girl face. It would have been
bring her back.
We could have done that with you if Otis had won it.
Yeah,
with like the Otis cash in, just been like...
Yeah, true. We have kind of missed the trick there. Yeah, maybe we should hope for him to get back so that we can do that.
Yeah, so there we have it. The Miz is now Mr. Money in the Bank.
Mr. Don't
Mr.
forget it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. They missed a trick with that on the night. Mr. Money in the Bank. Yeah. So yeah, we now move into the second of 3 Hell in a Cell matches and another match that we actually predicted, which was nice. Nice,
Not for
obviously,
me,
for
because I didn't get it right.
for myself, Rob, and Lucas, who all correctly predicted that. So fresh, y'all. Sasha Banks and Snoop Dogg, they're the best, y'all.
Yeah, well,
Sasha
there you
Banks.
go. She is now being a champ.
Yeah, so interesting thing. They actually mentioned on the pay-per-view that apparently they said it's the third women's Hell in a Cell match, and Sasha's been in every single one of them. I'm pretty sure there was another one.
She's going to be like the new Triple H or Undertaker.
Yeah, and she's actually won one, which is a nice.
Always helps. I weren't too confident with my Bayley pick, but if any of them, I thought that was the weakest one, because remember I did think that I couldn't be sure that all three would be heels leaving as champions and winning the cell matches. So if any of them, I couldn't see that happening, but I weren't too sure which one. But if any of them, I thought it was this one was the most likely I was going to be wrong on. And I'm all right with it because I think it was the right decision. I think they did it quite well. And you guys kind of talked me into other kind of theories, because my argument was that, like, if Sasha wins, it's kind of over already, but then not really, because now Bayley can kind of chase it and try and get it back, can't she? So, and obviously there's that whole thing about Sasha needing to have a defense as well of the title. So hopefully they do that and they don't hot potato it back, and Sasha actually gets to defend the title on pay-per-view successfully. But yeah, I'm sure you guys are pleased with catching up with those points.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was one of them where you could afford to take the L on that one. It's
not too many though.
It's not going to affect things on the score too much. For me, I think this was probably match of the night for me. I really, really thought the finish was just like ingenious. The fact that obviously Bayley introducing the chair into the feud and that being like the vital part of how Sasha eventually won the match, and it was another one of like very similar to like in the Roman and Jey match where it's like Bayley just didn't want to give up, and then Sasha was essentially just like, well, no, you're giving up, and it's like the fact that she was like stomping down on the chair just to like ram it straight into
risky
Bayley.
That, man. Like, it's hard to fake.
It was. I mean, all it needs is that chair to slip, and that's going like straight in Bayley's like nose or something.
Yeah.
But no, I thought they worked so well in this match. I thought that it was a match that, in my opinion, could have main evented any pay-per-view, and
should have. To be
I
fair.
do think it should have main evented this one. I think that was what our initial like prediction was going to be, was that this was going to be the main event. But
like you say, best match of the night and a babyface coming away, like
exactly.
Surely, and a title change, like surely that's the best scenario for for a closing match. So yeah, a bit disappointing in that.
And I liked as well at the end. It did look like that Bayley, although she looked really dejected at the end, it looked like that she was showing that she still had that bit of respect for Sasha as well. Like, I know that we've both been to hell, but it's like, I do respect you in the fact that obviously, as we say, it's going to be interesting now to see what happens going forward. Thankfully as well, Lucas was incorrect with saying that Charlotte Flair was going to show up. I don't think this needed Charlotte Flair at all. So, so just to obviously caveat that. And so as I say, points for all three of us. So.
Yeah, but like you say, like it was a good match, not just because of the result and the story, but the performances as well. And like you need. This is the problem with having so many cell matches. We all know it's hard to do different cell matches on the same night. And to be fair, they did that. All 3 cell matches were different types of cell matches. One helped by the whole I quit stipulation. This one was the hardcore one, and the other one was I guess kind of more of a normal wrestling match, but a bit of a spot at the end. Yeah. So. But obviously we'll get into that. But this one, I do think we should kind of focus on some of the big kind of moments here, because it was quite ingenious, really. Some of the stuff they did, like the kendo sticks, the way they use them and fall in between the steps and the cage itself. Really well done. Like you mentioned earlier, the chair as well at the very end, but also the one where they did the sunset flip power bomb where Sasha's head nastily hit the back of the chair. That was a bit scary, but it looked amazing. So, that was really well done. And then obviously the bit where Sasha does the frog splash and Bayley uses the chair. And I like that the commentators mentioned that, yes, she did hurt Sasha with that, but she kind of hurt herself with it as well. So very, very good usage of the chair, like you mentioned, because it's such a big part of the feud. And maybe it will end up being a chairs match, but it's a TLC. But it is kind of a bit of a way to stretch it out now they could definitely stretch out this feud now that they've kind of refreshed it by changing the title and you've got Bayley chasing. But to keep the stipulation so long, I'm not sure if they could do that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see like how they go forward with it. But as you say, it's going to be like that dynamic of Bayley now being the challenger rather than the champion, and it's like Sasha feels like, I think she's kind of got that hoodoo off her back of like, I've won a title on pay-per-view, I've won like a big pay-per-view match kind of thing, and
she's defending it now.
Exactly. That's the hard thing. It's like, it's like I can see over your shoulder Premier League trophy. They say it's hard to win, but it's even harder to defend it. So
I think if she defend, I think what should probably happen is maybe she keeps it. She successfully defends it Survivor Series, maybe be good, and then, or maybe they will do kind of like
brand
teams
warfare
and
thing.
stuff like that. Yeah, but either way, maybe she wins. She defends it once and then maybe loses again to Bayley closer to around the Rumble. And because I can see them more going with Bayley into Mania with maybe a returning, who knows, Charlotte or Ronda, or is Becky about by then? I'm not too sure.
Well, I think Charlotte's on Raw. So Charlotte's drafted to Raw anyway. So that will kind of rule her out, so to speak, of the SmackDown title picture. But when has that ever bothered them before?
Yeah.
Becky... with Seth on SmackDown, if Becky does come back, it would make more sense for her to go over to SmackDown. I think her baby's due in December, so it's then after that.
Okay, so the Mania build, she technically could come back.
Yeah.
So, and I can see it more being Bayley, as the heel and Becky being the face. But it would be a shame to build Sasha back up and get her she wins the title, she defends it, but then she's kind of into obscurity again. After that would be a shame. So maybe, I don't know, maybe they somehow give her another big feud.
Yeah, who knows, man. To be fair, I don't even think they're thinking any further ahead than SmackDown this week.
We're doing more work than they are, mate.
Exactly.
We've got the Miz cashing in on The Rock, and we've got Becky winning the Rumble to go on to face Bayley, and we're just trying to find something for Sasha now.
Yeah. They're probably just thinking, right, we're going to have a title match on WrestleMania, but we haven't got a clue who's going to be
on either side,
And it's really interesting as well how, like, I'd probably say this is going to go down as probably their most famous match after the Brooklyn one.
Yeah.
And ironically, both of those matches were main event quality matches, but neither of them main evented the shows. So it just shows that they are putting in like show stealing matches. In my opinion, though, I do think they've done more than enough this year to warrant like main event in a WrestleMania for definite. I mean, I'd honestly not be surprised to see this match in some form or another.
Well, like the Uso one, they can always bring the feud back, So if it doesn't happen this year, this next Mania, which I don't think it should now because it would be stretching it too far, to do the third and final match between the two of them at a WrestleMania. Well, not the final, but you know what I mean? They can brand it as that, the third match between the two of them, maybe for a title at the following WrestleMania. But now we're really doing WWE's job for them. But that I could see that happening, like you say, and headlining. Because if the previous Mania had the women's one, and rightly so, because that was a great storyline and all that kind of stuff, then why not these two as well?
Exactly.
Well, not the previous one. The previous one were fans, at least.
Yeah. The one that we were at.
Yay!
There we go.
It's the one that anyone was at, really.
Yeah. We now move on then to it was essentially a bit of an impromptu match that was announced on the night, and it was a member of the Hurt Business versus a member of Retribution, which inevitably turned out to be Bobby Lashley defending against Slapjack, defending the United States Championship no less against Slapjack. It was a pretty run-of-the-mill routine, like near 4-minute match, and again, this big team that they're building up in Retribution, again, a member of them just getting tapped out by a member of the Hurt Business.
Yeah.
And, you know, is there any point in Retribution still being around then if they're just going to get destroyed by one guy? And
yeah, I mean, literally the only 2 notes I've got, Lashley dominant against Slapjack, Retribution look weak. They're my only 2 notes. You know, because again, the matches, it is where it is these days, these kind of matches. But why would Mustafa Ali make this challenge and it mean nothing? All right. And why would Lashley, all right, you can say it's because he's a fighting champion, put the title online and it means nothing. So they have him easily beat Slapjack. They have him come out at the end and again, looking weak because they get chased off themselves. Surely, if Mustafa Ali's come up with this idea, and he's a heel, right? The idea is that you lure the Hurt Business into something so that you can then attack or something like that. That's what they should have done. And obviously, they tried to do that in some sense, but then the Hurt Business chased them off. What's the point? Now, I think the Hurt Business have got to look strong. You know, we all love them on this show. Like, we always like the way they've been built up. But at some point, you've got to go the other way. You've got to have Retribution doing well. Like, Hurt Business have had their bit, coming onto the ramp, unbuttoning their shirts and all that. That was a cool image, you know, them standing up for Raw and whatever else, the big fight between the 2 of them. But then we need to do a bit of Retribution now. Otherwise, there's, you know, Hurt Business are only going to look as good as their opponents look. What's the point in them being super, super dominant, beating these guys who talk a big game but don't do nothing with it?
Exactly. I agree totally with like what you're saying. It's absolutely just stupid what they're doing. Like the whole Retribution thing, when it first started, I thought, oh, this is going to be like really good. It's going to be,
yeah.
You know, and especially when you didn't know like who the people were, it was just constantly changing. But I think they're just making themselves look absolutely stupid with it. So, for example, like Mia Yim, I think she's under the name of Reckoning in Retribution. What has she done the last few weeks? Stood on the outside while the blokes are fighting. It's like, well, what's the point in her being part of the group then?
Yeah, like again, the idea could work. Like some of the stuff they've done has been good, you know, but I just feel like it's another few where they're just throwing things together to see what sticks, you know, like it just. And Mustafa Ali, I like the fact he's been, you know, kind of come out as the leader. I like the fact they're kind of bringing it back to the hacker thing, which your birthday thing keeps reminding me of for the entire show, by the way. It looks just like it. But, yeah, go on. Hey! Here's the leader of Retribution right there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I like the fact they're doing that. But then, and I like his reasoning. You know, it's always good when a heel is, you sympathise with a heel and you go, they got a point. You know, I like that. And they're touching on some real life stuff. I like that. But then what's the point if they don't ever, you know, get the one up against the good guys? What is the point? Where is the threat?
Yeah, and again, I think it's essentially like 2 heel groups as well facing off against each other. It's like, can they not make baby faces anymore in this?
Exactly.
Like,
I mean, even now, I just said the good guys because I guess they're the lesser of 2 evils as far as WWE alliances towards these guys go, because on the commentary they're going to be more against Retribution, but like you say, they are actually just 2 heel groups as well, so even that's been done poorly.
It's like the Hurt Business are fighting kind of for WWE, whereas Retribution are fighting like against them. For me, I think the best way they could have gone with Retribution was not have them as like a full-time like unit showing up every single week. It'd just be like, come in, cause a bit of chaos, go. And it's like, you know what? Yeah, show up in the odd like main event and just destroy a few people, destroy a bit around ringside. You know, I'm sure, you know, with all the dodgy finishes they like to do, like these lot could have come in and just started causing random people to like lose a lot of matches, and then that could have built. And then that could have built to something Survivor Series, because then you could have gone a 5-on-5 at Survivor Series. You know, say for example, the last 5 months they've gone, okay, so we're going to attack, say, Randy Orton and cost him against Drew McIntyre. So then that's one member of a Survivor Series team. We're going to then cost, say, I don't know, throw a name out, Drew Gulak, for example. Like, they could have literally just had 5 people that they've screwed over. Those 5 people will then form a team at Survivor Series, 5 people of Retribution, have a 5-on-5 match. That's Retribution's first match in WWE. They can then go and win that, or lose that even. If they're not going to see this as a long-term thing, you know, just do what they did with the Alliance. Just, like, essentially just get rid of it.
That's what I was going to say. Like, it feels like they could have done something like the Alliance, where it is, you know, WWE versus them, or even when they did the Nexus. You know, it could be a mixture of those two, and in some ways, it does have those kind of flavors, but they're just not doing it. They're not doing it properly.
And it's like, it seemed like they had big plans for, like, Dominic Dijakovic when he when it was like rumored, oh, he's going to go up to the main roster, and you're thinking, oh yeah, he could have like a decent like US title feud with someone. In theory, he's got a bit of a US title feud at the moment, but you never thought he'd have that as T-Bar as part of Retribution against Bobby Lashley. I'd have preferred to have seen Dominic Dijakovic versus Bobby Lashley rather than T-Bar versus Bobby Lashley.
Yeah. And then they've also got this stuff going on with Bray as well. So I guess there's still a chance to do that, what you just said. But you know, if they start it from now, maybe Bray, because they love building brand stuff and Survivor Series stuff really late anyway. Like, yeah, if you have Bray could be on the team, and then maybe someone from the Hurt Business, but that's a bit all over the place. Having Hurt
at least Bray's got Alexa there as well, so
yeah,
you know, at least it's a woman. So at least then, like Mia Yim, or I don't know, we referring to her as Reckoning. At least Reckoning can then get involved with it. You know, I don't know what Mustafa Ali's name's going to be, just like Hack or something.
Yeah.
Hackman. There we go. But yeah, I think we've probably covered like Retribution stuff enough. Should we get into the main event then?
Let's do it.
And Mr. Randall Keith getting a bit of Retribution over Drew McIntyre. Yeah, I was the bold one in this one, going against you guys and saying I thought it was going to be a Drew win. Yeah, I thought it was disappointing main event really for me.
I think I'm happy with the I guess the finish and the decision, because I do think now, as much as I've enjoyed Drew's run, as far as Randy goes, it was a good time to, you know, Randy's still got to look strong. I'm interested to see what they do with Randy as the champion again. It's been a long time since he was the champ, so that's going to be interesting. And now it gives Drew something else to do. You know, same feud, but shakes it up, like we said earlier with the Bayley and Sasha one. Now he can start chasing. So I'm pleased in that sense, because I don't think Drew's going to fall down the card now. That was the biggest worry, that he'd lose the title after like a month or two and go into obscurity.
Like Jinder Mahal.
Yeah, exactly. They've made him really strong. So I think he's okay without the title now. He's a star. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. But yeah, as far as match quality, like you, I'm disappointed in it. I mean, sneaky Orton attack at the start, kind of cool. Fits in what he's been doing. And again, it's another one I said out loud before it happened. He's going to duck this Claymore and hit the RKO. I knew that was exactly what was going to happen. But again, doesn't mean it was bad. But yeah, and then they went to the top. They're obviously never falling from the top. The sell's too high these days. It was obvious that was going to happen as soon as they were in the middle of the top. You know, you knew one of them was going to go to the edge and one of them was going to get thrown off. So,
to be fair, there wasn't really much room either, because that Thunderdome sign was kind of low, like to where the cell was as well.
I like the way that looked though. They were like almost trapped inside another thing on top. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, it's like another structure within a structure.
Yeah, exactly. Like the WCW one, I think it was War Games 2000, where they had 3 cages on top of each other. Kind of remind me of that. But yeah, it was up until that point. I'm trying to think what my notes. Claymore miss, chair hitting to the knee, blindfold and cage. I mean, and then Randy goes up to the top. You know, there weren't really much going on. Kind of predictable though. You know, I think
pulled out a lightsaber.
Yeah, what was that all about? But the
What more to the point? How did it get up there?
oh yeah, true. The ambulance match
And it was red, so
had matched actually had more kind of like than I expected as far as like different things going on. Maybe that's because of all the guys that jumped in and stuff. But there was a lot of things happening in that match compared to this one. This one just seemed like your regular kind of slow wrestling match for the most part until they hit those big spots. But again, it wasn't a terrible match or anything. But maybe it's
it was your
because
run-of-the-mill Randy Orton, like slow, methodical, like wrestling kind of match. Not really. It was a match that didn't really
it
need
wasn't
a
Hell
Hell
in
in
a
a
Cell.
Cell
It was,
stipulation.
it wasn't a Hell in a Cell match. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's what I was gonna say. Like, we've romanticized the Hell in a Cell, from growing up and seeing it used very well. Don't get me wrong. There was some kind of rough ones as well, but for the most part, Hell in a Cell was special. And obviously, we touched on it earlier. Having so many in one night, it's tough to do that, and having to do 3 different styles, which I think they successfully did. But one was
They could
always
have
going to
just
be
done.
this
To be
one.
fair, they could have just done the 2. They could have just done
They should
the
have. Yeah.
Roman J one, the Bayley Sasha one, and just had
Mm.
this as just like a like. If you want to have it as like a hardcore style match, do it as like a hardcore match. It's like it
The only
doesn't
thing,
necessarily.
this was the only one that used to sell as for a big spot. That's the only thing where it's like, they kind of needed it for that.
We all knew that spot was coming as well because you could see him on camera moving the table around. So
Yeah, yeah. And
well,
obviously you see the holes where they climb as well, conveniently 2 people next to each other as well. So
yeah,
that was a bit obvious. But yeah, maybe they could have, like, they've done it before. They did it on Raw where they pulled the cell down and they weren't a cell match. Maybe somehow Randy Orton could have gone mad and lowered the cell and just started, I mean, technically you'd say, oh, then they still have 3 cell matches, but not necessarily. They could have just done it for the very end, and that would have been exciting. We would have felt like we got a bonus, you know what I mean? Like, because they didn't need the cell for any of it other than the end. So if they did that, they started fighting on it, and they're like, this isn't even a Hell in a Cell match, but it's still here. And Orton seems like the kind of guy that would find the button to do that. Do you know what I mean? He does it, pulls it down, starts mashing up Drew's head into it, and then climbs up there, and then they do that exact same spot. They could have just done that.
could have done it off a ladder as well, mate.
Yeah, but I think if you had the ladder, you'd think, they had the cell there. Would have been nice if someone fell off the cell. You know what I mean? So that's why I've kind of thought that Randy could have brought it down. But yeah, other than that, it was all right. What do you think about the actual decision then? I mean, other than the fact you lost a point.
Yeah, that was annoying. No, I think obviously where this was like the 3rd match of like the series between them, and obviously Randy Orton doesn't lose 3 times in a row on pay-per-view kind of thing. I think it was always going to be that Orton was going to win, but I think what had happened earlier in the night, the whole thing with the Miz winning Money in the Bank, that was kind of in the back of my head. It's like, okay,
I
so
didn't even think that, to be fair.
this
Yeah.
is going to be the most like the perfect time. If Drew's going to lose the title, Randy doesn't need the title. Why did they not just have, okay, Drew's got literally absolutely mashed up from like the falling through the table.
That's a really good point.
He's got smashed up in the match. He's literally just used everything he's got left just to hit a claymore on Randy Orton and pin him. Why'd you not just have Miz come down, clock him in the head with a briefcase, pin him 1, 2, 3. You've got 4 cell matches for the price of 3. You've got a new WWE champion.
Yeah.
It's not Randy Orton.
And like they mentioned earlier about it possibly be Miz doing it on The Rock in the future and how much heat he'd get. He'd get the same for McIntyre. Well, maybe not exactly the same, but he'd get a huge amount for McIntyre because McIntyre is the beloved, strong champion,
Exactly.
I think you're right, man. They missed a trick there.
That was what they could have done. If they wanted to transition that onto a heel champion and have Drew chasing, that would have been one good way to go.
And to be fair, Orton could have got out of the picture without losing as well, because they could have done it, or looking as bad, because they could have done it like, when they've done it before, when they come in, it's now a triple threat. It could have been like that,
Prime example was the Seth Rollins WrestleMania 31.
Exactly, yeah. So, and then, all right, he still doesn't win the match, but he hasn't took the pin 3 times.
Yeah. Like Drew could have or even like Orton could have RKO'd him, Miz just push him out the ring and then pin him. So
and not even a pin. One was an ambulance, but still, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's not like he's been defeated.
Exactly.
Like three straight matches.
Yeah, involved in the decision, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it was kind of a bit cluster-y in places, kind of thing. Like I'm trying not to use the actual word, but because obviously we touched on the fact that we saw them with the like moving the table and stuff into like place and that. I don't know if you noticed as well, but you could actually see the blood capsule on under Drew's lip as well.
Really? Yeah. See, I just thought it looked like an obvious blood capsule, and it was a bit messy there, but I didn't notice what it was. So
yeah, it looked like the blood capsule was like hanging there pretty much the whole time. But,
they just pretend it's part of his lip or something.
Bit stupid, but yeah, I honestly thought it was the wrong decision. Like I don't think Drew should have lost the title at this stage.
Okay.
But also, I think Orton is a solid hand to carry it forward. Now, we may hear stuff come out in the future. The only thing I can think is that Drew's picked up some kind of injury, because I don't see why they would have taken the title off of him at this stage.
I don't know, maybe just to freshen things up. You know, maybe so they can prolong this feud and have Drew chase without giving him a new opponent, keep Orton at the top, keep Drew at the top. Maybe Orton loses it at the Rumble or around the Rumble, back on Drew. Whoever wins the Rumble chases Drew for this Mania.
And as well, apparently right before the show, there was actually some words going around that the Survivor Series main event was penciled in to be Roman versus Drew. So we don't realise how late that Randy Orton decision could have been made either. So it's either that, or is it going to be a case of Randy's won the title now, but then Drew's going to win it back before Survivor Series, potentially. But then that would be like, okay, so what was the point in him losing it? What was the point of Orton's reign? And it's then how long does now Randy Orton take that title reign on? Yeah, I think it was obviously not just because I lost the point, but I think it was just disappointing the fact that Drew's title reign ended this way, kind of thing. I think it's obviously it was going to end eventually, but like I would have liked to have seen it go on for a little bit longer, maybe on one of the big 4 pay-per-views. You know, whether it was a Survivor Series, even if they just held it out another month and had like another challenger, because I don't think Orton was the right guy to take it off of him.
I guess it all depends on what they do. You know, it all depends on.
Yeah,
if it's just to give Orton another number to get him higher in the levels of who's had the most title runs and stuff like that, and gives him a nice little 2 months where he can continue being horrible to Drew and Drew being the sympathetic one chasing, then they could do it well. But it'd have to be, in my opinion, 2 months of that. It couldn't be, like, say, 2 weeks or anything like that, because then it just really feels pointless. You need to build, I think, Drew getting it back, and then maybe someone coming in at the Rumble and challenge him from there, or just another challenger popping up. Doesn't have to win the Rumble, but yeah.
Well, because we've got like 4 weeks now until Survivor Series, so we'll probably find out what's happening probably like the day before or something. We'll know the card. So
yeah, true.
You know, who knows? But anyway, should we go to the table now and have a look and see how it's changed?
Let's have a look.
So, as you can see from the table, Scott, you are still sitting comfortably at the top on 28 points. Closely followed by our resident luchador, Rob, sitting on 27 points. See, now I would have been 1 point closer to you guys, but I decided to go against Randy Orton, and so I sit on 25. And Lucas, who got a full house of successful predictions,
you're catching up there, look at that,
is sitting on 20 points. So I guess that's it really for Hell in a Cell. It's another one out of the way. Hopefully they revert back to a different coloured cell next year, but we can only hope.
It wasn't as bad without the fans, actually, because the screens kind of, come through a lot clearer. When they've got that weird lighting on the fans as well, that's when it's terrible. And feeling the sympathy for the fans, not being able to see. Do you know what I mean?
I think it didn't help the fact of obviously the Fiend and the red light didn't help.
Yeah, that one was
last
even
year.
Worse, yeah.
And another good thing as well, we've not really touched on this, but none of the wrestlers that were actually in the cell matches were wearing red gear, so I think that helped it as well. So, because I know black and red is like a great colour combination that people will use quite a lot in wrestling, but it's like, could you imagine Kane just rocking up in Hell in a Cell? You'd be like,
Kane versus a Fiend, mate.
this wouldn't work.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that is it, guys. We are going to get on out of here. I'm going to go and enjoy the rest of my birthday. You're going to, I guess, enjoy the rest of your day, getting this video up for our wonderful fans. So,
yeah, there we go.
So yeah, I just want to say thank you to you for joining us. Thank you guys for watching the video. Don't forget, you can check out all of the Rebellious Noise podcast stuff over at YouTube. You can also check us out at rebnoise.com, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you want to find stuff. You also, if you like podcasts, you can also go and listen to Scott's podcast, the Talk and Beans one, which they recently released a Halloween edition, which I was listening to in my car yesterday.
Oh, watcha.
It was very good.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate that.
It's strange listening to your voice and not seeing your face, but yeah, it's
missed me, did you?
Well, I wouldn't go that far. But yeah, it's oh,
what was that?
Someone bibbing. Someone else approves, obviously.
Someone swore. Oh, all right. Yeah, that's good. I thought it was a censor.
So, anyway, we're going to get on out of here. Take care, guys. We will see you soon.
We've got a lot more wrestling content coming this year as well, guys, so please subscribe to Rebellious Noise on YouTube, check out rebnoise.com, and check out our podcast, Talk and Beans, where we'll be talking about the main wrestling shows as we do throughout the year.